And that's really the issue. The President of the United States does not have the legal authority to go in and kill people just because he thinks that they are narco-terrorists.
What's happening, everybody? Welcome to yesterday's news channel where we watch CNN so you don't have to. Last night on NewsNight with Abby Phillip, Scott Jennings jumped into a panel that thinks Trump blowing cartel boats out of the water is somehow a scandal. In today's first clip, the panel discusses the UK pausing intel sharing for what they call illegal attacks by Donald Trump on these narco boats. And in the second clip, they have some breaking news about Pete Hegseth's sexism. Wait till you see the source of this breaking news. But instead of engaging in a productive discussion, the panel is out here acting like these drug runners are probably just innocent people out on a boat ride. Anyway, let's watch Scott Jennings try to inject some reality into this circus. Let's go.
I think he's trying to provoke an armed attack. I think that's what he's trying to do so he can get away with saying that we're at war and now I can deport people the way I want to.
Is he trying to provoke an armed attack?
I think he would argue we're already under attack. You've got Venezuela that does move drugs into our country, not fentanyl, I agree with you, it's mostly cocaine, but they are part of a narco-terrorist system in our hemisphere that floods our country with drugs, and other countries that are our allies, they flood them with drugs. I agree with Jim, efforts in the past seem to have not curtailed this, and so, look, he had promised a more muscular response to the international drug trade, particularly in our hemisphere. Now we're getting it. I mean, I guess you could debate the legality of it. I'll tell you the politics of it. It's about a 70-30 issue. The American people have been wanting the government to do something more about the narco-terrorism in our hemisphere, and they're doing it. And so I guess we'll see what the lawyers have to say, but I know what the American people think, and it's like, finally, somebody is taking these narco-terrorists seriously.
Well, you have to be killing narco-terrorists. We don't know who the people are on the boats.
They look like drug boats to me. I don't think these are mild-mannered fishermen.
That seems to be the rationale. They look like drug boats to me. That seems to be as far as we're going with it.
Not just to American citizens, to anyone. And that's part of the reason why, as Americans, we don't just go kill people because the president or some elected official thinks they're guilty of a crime. We go through a process, a legal process. If not, there's nothing to distinguish us from the dictatorships that we're supposed to be against.
What about that? On a very basic level, Scott, shouldn't they be able to just say, what organization are we even talking about? What is the structure of this organization? Are these people leaders, or are they just minions in an organization? And does it matter? I mean, because I think that's part of it, is that there has been some reporting out there about some of these people, and the idea that some of these people might just be small cogs, and maybe they're a part of a machine, but maybe they're not. Don't you think they ought to be able to answer some of those questions?
Well, he is under indictment, Maduro, in the United States.
I'm not talking about Maduro. I'm talking about the people that we've killed.
And look, I mean, we have all this intelligence, as you just pointed out, and military resources in the region. I mean, they have told the American people these boats are full of drugs that are going to be headed towards our United States.
They haven't even said what drugs. That's part of the problem.
So, I mean, the basic argument at the table is you all just don't believe that the Trump administration is telling you the truth. I happen to believe that the drug trade coming out of Venezuela is real. A U.S. court also believes that. And I have reason to believe that there are drugs coming to the U.S. from Venezuela because the head of the cartel there,
well, the president,
that's what he does for a living.
So for the sake of time, I cut out a part where Abby Phillip came back to a talking point she always mentions when they're having this conversation. Most fentanyl doesn't come from Venezuela. And somehow that's supposed to make Trump's drug war wrong. But Venezuela is a narco-state. The entire government is built on drug trafficking. Why is CNN suddenly so worried about protecting cartel boats in a regime that profits off poisoning Americans? Her logic makes zero sense. By Abby's standard, as long as it's not fentanyl, it's fine if cocaine, heroin, and meth keep pouring on in. Try explaining that to parents who've lost kids to overdoses. Americans aren't losing sleep because Donald Trump's taking out cartel boats. They want him to. They're tired of watching cities turned into zombie zones filled with addicts wandering the streets. These boats aren't smuggling Jim Beam or marijuana, they're carrying death. So yeah, Donald Trump, keep firing warning shots across the world's bow. Because if the messages don't bring that poison here, most Americans would say, fire away, Mr. President. Let's go.
And that's really the issue. The President of the United States does not have the legal authority to go in and kill people just because he thinks that they are narco-terrorists.
Which part of the drug trafficking world are we even targeting here?
Yeah, it's a legitimate debating point. I would say there's two issues here. A, Venezuela, I mean, we don't even recognize Maduro as the head of it. We just recognize him as an indicted drug lord who is perpetually sending cocaine and other drugs to the United States. The fentanyl issue, which you raise, is a real thing, and I agree. I think people don't believe enough's been done. because of what's happened on the southern border and because of cooperation between the United States and Mexico, we have seen dramatic reductions, actually, in the amount of fentanyl that's coming across. That is a good thing, but that doesn't alleviate the issues that we have, I think, both legally because of the indictment and diplomatically with Maduro. We don't recognize them. We have sanctioned them. There's an opposition party there. And if they end up with regime change in Venezuela and it's a group of people that we can deal with that aren't narco-terrorists, that's probably good for security in the
Well, if they end up with about how Pete Hegseth seems to be pushing them out of leadership roles, including a woman who was up for a top position in the SEALs and was kicked out or was passed over for her promotion, and they're wondering whether this is because Hegseth has said that he doesn't want women in combat roles.
So since 2016, the combat standards for men and women have been the exact same. The physical readiness tests are not any different. To enter into the Army, you have to have a specific amount of time that you run for your mile, but combat readiness is the same. And yet he had this huge production that had to have been in front of all the generals and all the people to make this crazy announcement. So it's difficult for me to believe that he has good intentions when he's making false claims like that.
At Quantico, you mean?
At Quantico. Yeah.
So do we know from our reporting why the person in question was removed from command? Was there does anybody give a real on-the-record reason, or just speculation?
The only statement we have from the press secretary of the Pentagon is that women are excited to serve under the strong leadership of Secretary Hegseth and President Trump. Our standards for combat arms positions will be elite, uniform, and sex-neutral because the weight of the rucksack or human being doesn't care if you're a man or a woman. They didn't provide any examples.
But the personnel case we're citing here about the Navy SEAL, we don't know if that had anything to do with standards or not, do we?
Well, as far as we know, she met all the standards.
Right, that's what I'm saying. And so we actually, it may have nothing to do with that. It could have, and here's the thing, we don't know. It could be they were not in alignment on the direction of, orders that were being given. It could have been he has a different preference. The problem with this story is that there is speculation. You said it feels like this, but we don't know what it actually is. And I would just say, in cases of personnel, this happens all the time.
You guys see how silly this is? CNN calls what we just watched breaking news. Her big scoop, someone's wondering about something, and that somehow makes national news. What is happening? Scott Jennings asked the only question that matters. Do we even know why the woman was removed from command? And Abby's response tells you everything. She pivots onto a lecture about equal standards. The translation? No, we don't. It could have been performance, behavior, anything. And Abby's filling space to hide it. That's why Scott's smirking. He knows it's a complete non-story. In my personal opinion, I think Hollywood has conditioned me and possibly you to believe every female soldier can flatten a man twice her size with one punch. But in the real world, when you're wounded, trapped, or under attack, you are praying that the person dragging you to safety has the physical strength to do it. If you're a 200-pound man and a 130-pound woman runs in to pull you from a burning vehicle, you're thinking, well, it's been a good run. That's not sexism, it's physics. And CNN pretending otherwise doesn't make anyone safer. But what do you guys think? Should Trump keep taking out these cartel drug boats? Or is CNN right that we should worry about these innocent people just out for a boat ride? Let me know in the comments. Anyway, that's it for this video. No announcements today. Thank you all for taking some time out of your day to watch my video. It means the world to me. I hope you're all having a great week. I'll see you guys tomorrow. And make sure to click that next video before it goes away. Click it. It's not going to be there in a second, dude.